Welcome back to Crush Talk, the podcast where your crushes turn into conversations.
Yeah.
Now, we usually dive into the world of romantic crushes, but today's deep dive is a little different. We're talking about a crush of the canine kind.
Yeah.
That irresistible urge to adopt a rescue pup. You know the feeling you're scrolling through adorable photos and bam,
Right.
you find the one.
It's true. Those puppy dog eyes can be hard to resist. And before you know it, you're bringing your new furry friend home, ready for all the cuddles and, of course, delicious food. But what happens when your new pal turns their nose up at their bowl?
Yeah.
That's the situation one new dog owner found themselves in, according to this Reddit thread we're diving into today.
Yeah, this owner was really going through it. They tried everything.
Oh, no.
Different kibble brands,
Yeah.
wet food, even those tempting toppers.
Wow.
Nothing seemed to work.
Really?
They were starting to get really worried, which is understandable. You just want your new pup to be happy and healthy.
Absolutely. And that's where this deep dive gets really interesting, because it turns out the problem wasn't the food itself, but the bowl.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, huh?
The bowl. I would have never guessed that.
I know, right?
I'm already intrigued.
It sounds strange, but it's more common than you might think. Think about it this way. We humans have preferences when it comes to our dishes.
Right.
Doesn't a beautifully plated meal feel more appealing?
Yeah.
Well, it might be the same for our furry friends.
That's a great point. I definitely eat more enthusiastically off a nice plate than, say, a plastic container.
Yeah.
So did this owner end up getting their dog a fancy ceramic dish?
Not quite. But they did try something simple,
Oh.
a regular plate.
Hey.
And guess what? The pup started gobbling up their food. Mystery solved.
Okay, that's adorable. I can practically hear the tail wags. But it begs the question, why would a dog refuse to eat out of a bowl in the first place?
Well, there are a few potential culprits here.
Okay.
First off, the material of the bowl can be a factor. For example, metal bowls, while durable, can actually conduct heat rapidly,
Yeah.
meaning the food might cool down too quickly,
Oh.
losing its aroma and appeal.
Okay.
Some dogs are very sensitive to smell, you know? Plus, metal can reflect light in a way that some dogs find unsettling.
Interesting. So it's not just about the bowl being cold to the touch, but also how it affects the food itself. What else could be a problem?
The shape and depth of the bowl can also play a big role. Have you heard of whisker fatigue?
Yeah, I have. Those whiskers are super sensitive, right? Like a cat's whiskers?
Exactly.
Yeah.
A dog's whiskers are incredibly sensitive tactile organs.
Oh, wow.
They help them navigate their environment, sense changes in air currents, and even detect the size and shape of objects.
So I'm guessing a deep, narrow bowl could be a nightmare for those whiskers.
You got it. Constantly rubbing those sensitive whiskers against the sides of a deep bowl can be really uncomfortable, even painful for some dogs.
Oof.
And that discomfort can make them associate the bowl with a negative experience,
Yeah.
leading them to avoid eating from it.
That makes a lot of sense. So what worked for one dog might not work for another, just like with us humans.
Right.
It's all about figuring out your individual dog's preferences.
Absolutely. And this is where paying attention to their behavior becomes crucial.
Right.
If you notice your dog hesitant to eat from their bowl, it's time to play detective and investigate what might be causing the issue.
So what are some alternative feeding methods people can try? What did other people in the Reddit thread suggest?
Well, switching to a different material is a good first step.
Yeah.
Rubber or silicone bowls are often softer and quieter, which can be more appealing to sensitive pups.
Those do seem like good options. I imagine those materials would also be less likely to reflect light in a weird way.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment with different shapes and depths, too. Some dogs might prefer a wide, shallow dish, while others might do better with a bowl that has a slanted interior. So it's easier for them to reach the food without their whiskers bumping the sides.
This Reddit thread is a gold mine of tips and tricks for dog owners. It's heartwarming to see so many people sharing their experiences and helping each other out. What other solutions did people suggest?
One suggestion that came up a lot was puzzle feeders.
Oh, yeah, those are great. I've seen those at the pet store. Aren't they designed to make dogs work a little for their food?
Exactly. They turn mealtime into a fun challenge,
Yeah.
which can be especially beneficial for dogs who are prone to eating too quickly. Plus, puzzle feeders provide mental stimulation, which can help prevent boredom and destructive behaviors.
So it's not just about getting the food down the hatch, but also engaging their minds. That's really cool.
Right, and there's another feeding method that's gaining popularity. Scatter feeding.
Scatter feeding. I'm not familiar with that one. What is it?
It's basically mimicking a dog's natural foraging instincts. Instead of putting all the food in a bowl, you scatter it around a designated area, like your backyard or even a large room in your house.
So it's like a treasure hunt for kibble.
Exactly. It encourages your dog to use their sense of smell and problem-solving skills to find their food. Plus, it can help slow down fast eaters and add an element of enrichment to their daily routine.
I bet that keeps them entertained for a while. And it probably tires them out a bit, too, with all that sniffing and searching.
It definitely can. Scatter feeding is a great option if you have a dog who needs a little extra mental and physical stimulation.
It's amazing how much thought goes into something as seemingly simple as feeding your dog. I'm learning so much from this deep dive.
It's a great reminder that our canine companions have unique needs and preferences, just like we do.
Okay, so we've got different bowl materials, shapes, puzzle feeders, scatter feeding. I'm sensing a theme here. It's all about getting creative and finding what works best for your individual dog.
You've got it. There's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to feeding our furry friends. What might work for one dog might be a total flop for another.
It's about being observant and attuned to their needs and preferences. Speaking of preferences, what about those picky eaters who seem to turn their noses up at everything? Is there any hope for them?
Absolutely. Sometimes picky eating is just a matter of finding the right flavor or texture, but in other cases, it might be a sign of an underlying medical condition. If you've tried various food options and your dog is still refusing to eat, it's always best to consult with your veterinarian.
That's a good point. Better safe than sorry, especially when it comes to their health.
Right. And even if there isn't a medical issue, your vet might have some helpful suggestions for dealing with picky eating. They might recommend things like gradually introducing new foods, establishing a regular feeding schedule, or even using food puzzles to make mealtime more engaging.
It sounds like there are so many factors to consider when it comes to feeding your dog. It's definitely more than just filling a bowl and hoping for the best.
It really is. And just like in any relationship, communication is key. Pay attention to your dog's body language, their eating habits, and any changes in their behavior. Those cues can tell you a lot about what they're feeling and what they need.
So to wrap up this deep dive into the world of canine dining, what's the one piece of advice you want to leave our listeners with?
If your rescue pup isn't eating from their bowl, don't panic. It might not be you, and it might not even be the food. It could be something as simple as the bowl itself, or maybe they just need a little more excitement in their mealtime routine. Experiment with different options, observe your dog's reactions, and remember there's a solution out there for every picky eater.
I love that advice. It's all about being patient, understanding, and willing to think outside the bowl, literally. This has been such an eye-opening episode of Crush Talk. I feel like I've learned so much about how to make mealtime more enjoyable for our furry friends.
Me too. It's amazing how much we can learn from simply paying attention to our dogs and being open to trying new things.
And that's what Crush Talk is all about, exploring those connections and helping you navigate all kinds of relationships, whether they're romantic, platonic, or in this case, the special bond we share with our canine companions.
If you're enjoying these deep dives, don't forget to subscribe to Crush Talk and leave us a review. We love hearing from you.
And be sure to check out our social media for more fun facts, tips, and behind-the-scenes content.
Until next time, keep those crushes coming, and remember, every dog deserves a happy tummy.
This is Crush Talk signing off.